32, I'll call the meeting to order. Everyone is here and accounted for, except for Jim Healy, who's excused. So we'll move right along to item 2, which is chairman's business. And I have none tonight. So can move right along to the approval of the minutes from February 9th, 2021. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review them. Any discussion on the minutes or any comments, clarifications, corrections? Nope. All right, hearing none, I'll call for a motion to approve the minutes from February 9th. Motion by Alderman Tierney, seconded by Alderman Sigwart. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 4, public comments and appearances. Anyone like to make public comments or appearances tonight? None? Okay. And we'll move right into old business, number 5. Do we have any old business for the betterment of the board? Okay. Then we'll move right into new business, and Rob has informed me that we're going to save item A, correct, till Foth Engineering is able to make it with us today. So we'll move right to item B then, which is to consider bids for 2021 street, sewer, and water improvements. All right, take it away, Rob.
Okay, yep, so we had the bid opening last week, Thursday, for this project, and hopefully everyone's familiar with the streets we are doing. I attached to the packet the map of outlining the locations where we'll be replacing the water main, lining the sewers, and improving the roads. All the roads, essentially, the easiest put, the roads are all going to be reconstructs with the exception of Thomas, Holden, and Sunset. Those are mill and overlay. So the bids we received, so I was really happy with the number of bidders that we had for the project, 5 bidders. It's a very busy bidding season from what I understand. Lots of contracts out there, a lot of work. So I'm happy that we got, of our bidders, 4 quality bidders and one that I'd never heard of before, but I don't know if they're good or bad. But in either case, Vinton was our low bidder at $2,489,000 and change. We've worked with Vinton before. They have a good track record here in the city and a good reputation. So I have no issues with recommending them for award. Moving to the way we broke out, or I broke out the cost for water, wastewater, and street. Couple items worth note. So if you're looking at my report with the fiscal impact, I'll just work from left to right here. So on water, the construction costs are $795,000. Now what I do, I don't just allocate the cost to the water that are for the pipes and the hydrants and the services. I also allocate the cost of the pavement over the top. So the 10 feet of pavement is allocated towards the water utility, as well as 10% of the curb and sidewalk, and 10% of the landscape restoration. So I attribute those costs to water as well. So that drives up the cost of the water portion of the project, and in turn relieve some of the burden off the street costs. So I have the construction cost there for water, $795,000. We have $16,000 left to pay for the design. So the majority of the design was paid for using our 2018 borrowing, but we still have approximately $16,000 left in liabilities for the design. We've already approved the contract for staking for $21,000. I've distributed that cost between water, wastewater, and street. And then inspection, which is a little bit of a guessing game, but just based upon our experience last year, our cost to have an inspector there from R.A. Smith was approximately $100,000. So this year, because we have a substantially bigger project, but in terms of mileage, it's twice as big, but half of that is street resurfacing, so that should hopefully go quickly. But I have it estimated at $120,000, distributed, as you see, between water, wastewater, and street. So for the water, our total cost, I'm estimating at $864,000. Our budget is $800,000, and working with Tony, we'll either recommend paying for that overrun through the reserve, which is approximately 1.5 million, or by additional borrowing. So Tony will crunch the numbers on what works best for the utility. Wastewater, we're lining all the sanitary sewers, all the clay sanitary sewers, which are primarily in the locations where we're replacing the water mains, so the street reconstructs. So we're at 136,000 there, and we had $200,000 budgeted, so we're good. Moving to street, the total cost that we project is $1.67 million. The budget was 1.61. The $60,000 shortfall that we show there, or that I show there, that'll be made up by what I anticipate will be special assessments for the sidewalks on Thomas Drive, which were put into the project between Benjamin and Wisconsin. They front the apartment buildings there. And then they also front the apartment buildings on Sunset, where we have included the multi-use trail and the sidewalk running along the north side of Sunset between LL and 32. So I estimate those special assessments at $46,000. And then I also forgot to include in my report that we do have a $40,000 LRIP grant. That's the Local Road Improvement Program. We have a $40,000 grant from the state of Wisconsin for this project. So that adds up to $86,000. So that should cover our $60,000 shortfall that you see between the total projected price for the project and in the budget of 1.61. I just went through a lot of numbers. Did all of that? I hope I explained it well enough.
So the total over budget is about 60,000?
Yeah, right, in the water utility. And so again, I've talked with Tony, and we feel confident that we can easily cover that extra $60,000 rather than, stopping three-quarters of the way through one of the streets and quitting. So, but otherwise, I was happy. Yeah, I was happy with the numbers. Next year, I plan on having a little more padding in my budget, but otherwise, we came real close on the budget. So, and then the next item will be approving the extension of the R.A. Smith contract. I took another look at that. That was a one-year contract, so this would just be an amendment to it. But I'm including that in the price. So of course, that's the cost of delivery of the project, and is included in the 2021 borrowing for street improvements and water.
Any questions or comments from the board? Yeah, Alderman Sigler?
Yeah, a couple of things, Rob. Apparently Soper isn't super.
Yeah, right. Soper is not super.
Okay, so Soper's correct.
Yes. Yes.
In my normal fashion, I do go through all the bid items, and I'll show it to you from looking at streets. You can see they were doing real well until they got to the utilities, Rob. They're low, all the highlighted ones. Well, when I looked across at Benton and Butine's bid, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, it looks like they all use Payne and Dolan's number without any markup. That your feeling?
Probably. yes,
We're probably doing about the best we can on the asphalt. Okay.
yes.
So what made the difference, Rob? These were really good bids. I mean, there was nothing in here that was obnoxious. Okay. Where do you, okay. Everything looked balanced as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure you feel the same way. All right. All right. No other comments on the bid process. A question on the contract for staking. Is that with R.A. Smith?
No, that's with Bremer.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That's with Bremer. Okay.
Yes.
And that is outside of their normal engineering contract.
Well, we approved the staking when we approved the design. So that contract's already been approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And,
that's
and
what-
if they use all $21,000, I'll be shocked because they've never used more than half of their budget.
Okay. Have you been told whether we'll get Pat back again this year or not?
I am positive we won't. He now works for the Metropolitan Sewage District.
Why, when they're good, do they leave?
Well, well, I'm confident. Well, they gave me 2 new resumes of young engineers, both professional. Well, they're not they're EITs, but really good resumes, and I'm confident they'll do a good job.
You know my philosophy, Rob. The engineers make the worst inspectors.
You know, I've heard that before. We've had good luck. I don't share your prejudice against
Okay.
civil engineers.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Alderman Sigler.
Yes.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay.
And this would be reviewed as are all contracts by the city attorney.
So do we have a motion to recommend approval?
Also move
We have a motion by Alderman Sigler to recommend approval.
to Vinton Construction Company and the amount which Rob read. I don't have it here. Okay.
That would be $2,489,402.20. Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Gasper. Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none. Call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 yeas, 1 nay. Okay. Was by Phil. All right, moving on to the next item. Item C, consider amendment to agreement with R.A. Smith for inspection services.
Okay, so yeah, as I mentioned in the early report, we used R.A. Smith for inspection last year. They did a great job. They equip all of their inspectors with a GPS data collector. So all of the improvements are essentially recorded as they're installed, and I'm real happy with Pat Zimmer, who's their supervisor. I think they did a really good job, and the person that they're providing for us this year, although young, has good experience, and I have no concern. So I'd like to continue using R.A. Smith for inspection this summer. And so what this would just be is an amendment to the existing agreement that was approved last year, but it would also be reviewed by the city attorney.
Anything else, Rob?
Oh, that's Tony has.
Yeah, hello, Tony.
Rob, just as a point of clarification, this is not an additional cost beyond what was laid out in the memo for the previous item with water, wastewater, and streets, right?
Right. So this is an engineering and inspection and staking are all included in the item that's in the 2000, well, in each year's borrowing for streets. So the cost of design, construction, and delivery is all in that line item. Thanks for the clarification.
Okay. Yeah, Alderman Sigbert? Yeah, we'll entertain a motion.
I will so move that the contract amendment provided for R.A. Smith be accepted.
We have a motion to approve the amendment with R.A. Smith for inspection services. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Tierney.
Just note then that as an R.A. Smith employee, I will be recusing myself from this vote.
All right, duly noted, Alderman Gasper. All right. Any further discussion? Yes.
Now, what was our hourly rate last year, Rob?
$88 a
Oh,
hour.
my gosh. Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, motion carries. 4 yeas, 1 abstention. Okay, moving on to item C tonight, we have, or item D, consider bids for concrete sidewalk replacement.
Okay, all right. So again, last Thursday, we opened bid for the sidewalk replacement project. Forward Equipment, which is essentially they have two companies, Forward Construction and Forward Equipment, but they bid under the Forward Equipment business. This is the person who's the owner is Mike Lalonde, so you may be familiar with Lalonde Concrete. I don't know if he doesn't get along with his brother, but in any case, they have 2 separate companies. And so he was the only bidder for our project. They seem to be carving a niche for themselves. They've been getting the contracts regularly in all our other sidewalk communities, including Grafton, Cedarburg, Whitefish Bay, and Shorewood. BMCI, the old TP, pretty much has done just about every piece of concrete in the city in the last 20 years, but since TP was purchased by BMCI, I think and of course they have the Hales Trail and Crestview project. They're cutting back, they're scaling back the flat work that they do. And so, and they're, again, just busy with the numerous construction projects that have been out for bid. So they did not bid this project. Fortunately, they warned me ahead of time that they wouldn't. But Forward Equipment, their unit price is $770. That's less than my estimate, which was $8 a square foot, and I'm happy to say it's a lot less than the $9.50 a square foot that Cedarburg opened on their when they opened their bids, which was a smaller, more scattered project, which would explain the difference in the unit price, but had me nervous for a while. Forward Equipment, again, they're our only bidder. They're doing work in other communities. I think I'll be watching to see if they do as good a job as TP, but I am recommending them for approval. Regarding the budget, so their total bid price is $155,200. I wanted to make certain that we stayed under our $175,000 when we opened the bids, but I am going to recommend that we try and do as much sidewalk as we can this year. So ultimately, whether it's using Forward Equipment or if we do some, a small mud jacking project or something in the city in addition to this, my intention would be to spend the entire $175,000 to catch up on sidewalk maintenance in the city, because we certainly have needs in excess of $175,000, and a number of people who have been calling year after year hoping that we'd come out and fix their sidewalks. So we're going to tackle as many of those complaints as we can this year.
Is that additional work going to be done in-house, or would that be further?
No, we would, since this is a unit price contract,
Okay,
I'm sure this bottom line, this $155,000 will go up, but of course it'll be, again, at the unit price of $770 a square foot.
yeah, so we know the price, okay.
Yeah. And I think I said in here that their intent is to start work sometime this summer. They're telling me they think they can do it in 3 weeks, but I've not worked with them before, so if they could do it in 3 weeks, that would be fantastic.
Right.
21, 20,000 square feet.
Any other questions for Rob? Yeah, Alderman.
No, that's square foot. So we're not doing a lot of corners. Yeah. That's a square foot item. Yeah, that's typically how they're bid.
Any other comments or questions?
And one last comment, just the comment I made about mud jacking, not so much in the area that we're focusing on, but east of Spring Street, Ross said in his, because he's gone through the entire city, there's a number of handicap ramps that are sunk. And so I'm looking at possibly just mud jacking those, because as you can see, those get pretty expensive when you put in the detectable warning fields.
And then just for background, how do you guys come up with the sidewalks or determine? Is that, do
You know,
have a
Ro-
rating for those or like the streets or no?
Ross went out and marked the entire city to essentially quantify
Okay,
the need out there. We do keep track of the complaints we have or the requests we have as well. And so, yeah, so we have, and I'm not prepared to tell you tonight what the total quantity is that we have out there, but I'm happy to say we can with 175,000, we're gonna make a big dent in the backlog of sidewalk work that we need to do. And of course, we also improve all the sidewalks whenever we do a street reconstruction project, and so
what's the typical useful life for the sidewalks?
that's a great question. It can be anywhere from 10 years to darn near 100 years. I mean,
all
I've seen
topography.
sidewalks that, yeah, it just all depends.
All depends, okay.
It depends if the base was put down and packed properly.
If it's over a sewer lateral, if it's next to a tree, I mean,
Really?
yeah, so,
Otherwise, we need a doweled sidewalk so that it doesn't sink.
Okay.
yeah, right.
What is their plan coming around trees that
Right, so the specifications detail how the contractor handles roots, so we shave down the roots to 2 inches below the sub base and replace the concrete. Yeah, so doesn't guarantee that they'll never lift again, but if you have base course separating the sidewalk and the root, that's gonna keep the root from looking for nutrients up in the stone, hopefully.
All right. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Alderman.
Did you, I know that the other local communities had the same bidder. Did you talk to anybody that did them a year ago or 2 years ago? Or?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd heard from Cedarburg that their bid was like 7.25 last year. When I talked to BMCI, he said to expect anything between like 750 and 795. So, yeah, I think the cost of concrete, they complained about the cost of base course going up and the cost of concrete going up this year, but I don't know what the percentages were.
And then all of them in red on the map, is that everything, or is that what you said we're gonna?
Yep, that's the area. So I'd love to get everything, there, you can see there's a few streets that we just had to cut out of the budget.
Definitely south of Grand on Lincoln and Webster, those can use it, I know that.
So I'm hoping, if we can get more of those areas, but the areas that aren't red, are located in our proposed street improvement projects coming up in the next 5 years. So if we don't catch them now, we'll catch them then.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, do we have a motion to approve recommend approval of the bid for $155,200?
I move to approve awarding the bid to Ford Equipment for an amount of $155,200.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Gasper. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Tierney. Do we have any further discussion?
Just have one question. Rob, you said that you were manually going to try to push it up to 175. Should the motion include that? You want to award this bid for 155 too, but you want to have the, kind of like a go-ahead to go up to 175.
Sure, I mean, I have no objection to it being worded that way. That would be, yeah, it would be to award the contract to forward, guess you could say not to exceed $175,000.
I will amend my motion to add that the total project cost is not to exceed $175,000.
Do we need to vote on the amendment?
Well, it's a friendly amendment because my own, so as long as
Friendly amendment.
Alderman Tierney is okay with it.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the bid as well as, how did you word that? Alderman Gasper?
So to award the bid to Ford Equipment for a total of $155,200 and a total project cost not to exceed $175,000.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion?
I do have one question
Yeah,
that
Phil.
it's kind of in line with the sidewalks. On these ramps that we have now, for the deaf or whatever they are, the hearing impaired, when they come out, and it's all that mat, the steel mat on the bottom. Pardon?
Detectable warning field.
Yeah. We paint those, or is this part of somebody come in and do that?
These we spec what they're called natural patina, so it's the iron, natural iron.
Okay, so the rust will go away?
So it's
The
not,
rest goes away. It's the same steel as
isn't it like that?
like on a
bridge?
catch basin. It comes out rusty, but it wears off.
Yeah, when you use the painted ones, the paint just chips off over
Right, we
time.
used to put light poles in like that, I understand that. But it just doesn't seem to be doing the right thing on the ground. I was just had a question on that, whether we do anything on that or,
Yeah. The requirement is that the detectable warning field need to be a contrasting color to the concrete. In some communities, I think, take that as needing to be painted yellow or.
right.
But to me, the natural patina color is enough of a contrasting color, and I don't think that's been challenged by anybody. So, and
Yeah, 'cause we were
and
just
it's,
out
it's
walking.
cheaper and it holds up better.
Out walking last week and the last couple of days and everyone's a different color, so I didn't know if there was a,
Yeah.
all right, that was the question I had.
Thank you, Phil. All right, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving right along on the agenda, we have consider resolution to apply for DNR non-point source grant.
Okay, so the DNR has a grant program each year called the Non-Point Source Grant. It alternates every year between planning grants and construction grants. So this is a planning grant year. And the maximum grant, I believe, is $85,000, and it's a 50-50 matching grant. The last non-point source grant that the city was awarded, I believe, was in 2003, and that's what we used to create our stormwater management plan that we have on file today. But of course, the stormwater management plan that we have is about approximately 15 years old and is outdated, as well as our ordinance is outdated because the DNR requirements have changed for stormwater quite rapidly, actually. And we are now entering a TMDL into as I've stated before, I'm still climbing the learning curve on what that means for the city. But I do know that our stormwater management plan is out of date. All the modeling that was performed to determine the TSS reduction that we're achieving is also outdated. They're using we used WindSlam and now I'm forgetting the new program that they use, but it's a different modeling program. All the rainfall data has changed. SewerPack establishes those curves for the rainfall intensity and duration. So the new rainfall curves indicate that it's raining more and it's raining heavier. And so we need to update our modeling to adapt to that. Additionally, in order to meet our annual permit, we need to have what's called a SWIP performed at our street department, which is a stormwater, I wrote it down here, a stormwater pollution prevention plan. And so that would be part of all of the things that we're looking for, help from a consultant to, again, update our management plan, our ordinance, to create a SWIP for the street department. To apply for this grant, we would need the help of a consultant. But the first thing that a municipality is required to do is to pass a resolution. This resolution, I think Judy sent out the addendum to the agenda indicating that would be a resolution that needs to be passed by the council, but it authorizes, they ask for authorization that the city employee who's essentially preparing and managing the grant would be the person who would be authorized by the resolution to do so. They recommend that it be, it name the position and not the person, so that's why I have city engineer in there. So the resolution is required in order to apply for a grant. I'm working with 3 different consultants to discuss hiring them to submit the grant. I don't have a firm price on what that's going to cost yet, but somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000 to submit the grant application. I think the grant that we're looking for may be in, or I should say the total project would be around $100,000, but I won't know that until we get further along in the process. So I'm not exactly certain what the dollar amount is going to be that we wind up applying for. The grant is due April 15th, so this is, again, just step 1 in the process. The work itself would not be done until 2022. That's when the grant begins. So the dollar figure that we would need to secure in order to proceed with the work would have to be taken into account in next year's budget. So hopefully I've explained that well enough, but yeah, so the process is get the resolution approved, hire a firm to, at a cost of $4,000 to $6,000 to submit the grant application, and then wait and see if we get the grant, and in the meantime, I'll work with the consultant to receive proposals to actually do the work.
So really, we're just recommending approval of the resolution.
It's just the resolution.
Authorize the grant submittal? Or?
Right. So I gave you the big picture, the little picture that what I'm asking for today is just approval of the resolution.
Lord knows we have enough stormwater events, so.
I think it'd be wise to take advantage of this, this grant update. what
And it's
we have.
required too, right? Part of the permitting? you said?
Right, if we're not gonna be, we're gonna run into problems with our permit if we don't update the plan. And plus, it's creating some confusion every time we have a developer prepare a stormwater management plan for a subdivision or anything over an acre, really. They're coming to us with, because the stormwater ordinance has old information in it, as I mentioned, regarding how to model the stormwater and what rainfall data to use. So,
they like use that for their development, say for their, stormwater or
right,
catch basins and stuff.
yes, yeah.
All right. Any other comments or questions for Rob here from the board? Alderman Sigler?
One question.
Yeah.
I saw an unusual sight today, Rob. I saw a pond maintenance contractor working out in Dan Benning's neighborhood. What's the name of your subdivision, Dan? Greystone. Working on that pond.
Really?
Taking out invasives, doing a wonderful job, okay? It is the first time I've seen a firm maintaining one of our stormwater ponds. I call them ours because they're in our city,
Yes.
but the maintenance of those is by the homeowners association. Correct?
Well, yeah, I'll have to get more information from me on that so I can take credit for it on our permit.
If you go out there, there's a bunch of saplings they took down. They're lined up along the street for JD to brush. The name of the firm
I already
was-
stopped and talked to him. We're not picking it up.
No, but JD, is it Casson, C-A-S-O-N is the name of the firm?
I stopped and looked at the truck yesterday and talked to the guys, but I can't remember what it's something like pond and lake.
Right, they're,
Yeah.
it's good to see, by the way, because we have a lot of ponds that the homeowners haven't even looked at, much less worked on. Sorry.
All right, well, in any case, we'll talk. But yes, that is great news. Yeah, okay, good, super.
Thank you, Alderman Sigler. Yeah.
I move approval of Resolution 2021-2.
We have a motion to approve the resolution. Do we have a second? Correct. Second by Alderman Sigler. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we get to do the fun stuff. We get to buy stuff. So, yeah. Item F, consider purchase of tire changer and balancer. Take it away, JD.
Technically, I don't need approval for this, right?
Yeah, just as a point of clarification, this is not an action item. This is just an informational item that JD's brought forward.
Okay.
You already got it. Yeah,
Well, yeah.
pretty close.
Tony will have his pencil sharpened tomorrow. So our current tire and balancer, according to the old timers, we bought used 20 years ago. So we're guessing it's like 25 years old. So the balancer no longer really works. We go through a lot of tires. And if you get them correctly balanced, they last a lot longer and you don't wobble going down the road. So I think this is important that we get this. We basically got two bids. The first one was from Snap-on for $11,076.81. The other one was from Napa, which was $16,184. So we're gonna go ahead and purchase the one from Snap-on. So.
John, did you hear that JD said that the people who have been here 20 years are old timers?
Well, so my source for a lot of this stuff is Gerard and Gary, and they've both been here for over 30 years. So
JD, what about the nail in the wall? That didn't work long enough?
no, that does not work. No, but I mean, realistically, this would be a good money saver for us. It's a good investment. So.
JD, do you have did they give you any idea what is considered a life when you buy this one? How long do you think you'll get out of it? Another 30 years? Or?
Yeah. I mean, we're not like in I'm sure a place like Goodyear Tire. I mean, as much as I run in tires for them, they probably don't last as long. But for us, I would say 15 to 20 years probably.
That seems like
I'll still
good
be here.
investment.
And Rob.
And you can say you remember when you got it,
Yeah, all right.
All right. Any questions for JD on this item? Okay. We'll move right on to the next discussion item then is the purchase of a track loader.
Okay, so this we're looking at replacing our 2011 skid loader with 3,000 hours. I can say, in the 4.5 years I've been here, this is the first time we're getting rid of something that's a 2011. But I think that's actually a really good schedule replacement. The machine is probably a size too small for what we need on a daily basis. So it kind of got used and abused, and this machine gets used almost every single day. The machine we've got right now is a rubber tire machine. We've got like the Tool Cat, and Park and Rec has a smaller loader that are rubber tires. So we thought it'd be a good idea to go with a track loader. It performs pretty much just as good on asphalt, but really gives us the benefit of getting off-road, whether it's working in parks or cleaning out the creek, and just gives us minimal turf impact too when working in parks. And it also gives us a huge advantage in winter. We used to plow the city parking lots with a truck or Park and Rec's Jeep, but we bought a snow pusher, and this was the first year we did parking lots with a skid loader, which makes a huge difference. It's small. You can spin around in a circle in tight areas. You can get in where you normally can't with a pickup truck. And with a track loader, you're going to get far superior traction and pushing power. Pebble House parking lot and Associated parking lot, you want all the traction you can get, especially when you're surrounded by cars. So that'll be another huge advantage of going with a track loader. We demoed a bunch of different machines. In all honesty, the Cat was the last one that we demoed, and we kept waiting for like one of these machines to be like, okay, this is the one. They all had things, like one or two things that we really liked, but then 3 or 4 things we really didn't like. So to us, the Cat was probably the far superior machine, and obviously it's priced very well compared to the competitors. So the Cat bid came in at $61,745. The ASV from Bruggings and Oostburg came in at $82,267. And then the Case for Miller Bradford and Reesburg came in at $77,080. So my recommendation is to approve the Cat bid.
This is for discussion only as well? This item?
No, this is an action item.
It's an action item. Okay.
JD, what's
Yeah.
the life on a track compared to a tire?
So they actually, so our rubber tire machine, we go through a set of tires. So we have summer tires and we have winter tires. We go through a set of summer tires every single year, but that's because we drove it all over the place. We didn't have a trailer. We do have a trailer now, which the track machine will have to be trailered, unless it's somewhere close to the shop. But a set of tires for a skid loader is $1,000, so that's every single year. They actually warranty the tracks for 1,000 hours, and we have 3,000 hours on our machine that we've had for 10 years. So if we go through 1 or 2 sets of tracks in 10 years, it'll probably be it. Tracks are twice as expensive. A set of tracks is $2,000, $2,500. But it's a guarantee you're spending $1,000 a year just on summer tires for our skid loader. And then probably every other year you're looking at winter tires, which are probably $800. So yeah, you're the tracks, and because I was a little skeptical too about running tracks on paved surfaces, but I talked to I talked to other contractors that I know that have them, and talked to the dealers, and the tracks have come a long way in the last 10 years as far as durability and traction. So I'm feeling pretty confident that we'll get a long life out of the tracks.
So either way, we're coming out ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tony?
And I just wanted to talk briefly just about the budget. So what is in the approved capital budget for this year for the track loader is $45,000. But with the next item, well, $45,000, and as JD went over, this is we'll say $62,000. So it is over budget. But what we're planning on doing is basically transferring funds from project to project. So for the next item, what you'll see is that between the two dump trucks that are being purchased, they are roughly the equivalent amount under budget, so $15,000. So we'll just be taking the $15,000 from that project, or those vehicle purchases, and transferring it over to this one, to still maintain being within budget for the purchases.
Thank you, Tony. Any other questions for JD or comments? Okay, so I'll call for a motion to recommend purchasing the 2021 track loader from Fabicat for $61,745. Do we have a motion? Motion by Alderman Tierney. Second.
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Gasper. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving to the next item, item H, purchase of 2 5-yard dump trucks with truck bill. JD?
Okay, so this kind of has two separate parts. So the first is the actual chassis. So a little background about that. Other than the 94 GMC they were getting rid of, the street department has all Freightliner trucks. The older trucks have been really solid trucks, but the newer ones, I should say. So in 2013, we bought 2 Freightliners. Those are our newest trucks, and they've been nothing but a headache. And a lot of it has to do with the new diesel emissions and the after treatment. I'd say we probably spend $3,000 to $5,000 every year on those 2 trucks, taking them up the truck country for emission codes. And so that right away was a red flag that we need to look elsewhere. And the second thing with the Freightliners is the visibility. That's a huge factor when it comes to snow plowing. And especially these 2 new trucks. One is going to be on the downtown route. So it'll be Franklin Street east of Wisconsin all the way up to Walters. And then the other truck is the hill route through the downtown. So from Grand Avenue all the way up to Walters, but on the west side. So you not only have the hills, but you have a lot of pedestrians. Our biggest complaint about the new Freightliners is you can't see the wing nor the plow. So when we started looking at new trucks, I knew the biggest thing was visibility. So we basically had the option of keep going with Freightliner, going with International, whose visibility is also terrible, or going with Mack. Mack trucks to us gave us great visibility. Grafton has basically a fleet of them. They've got a few older trucks that aren't Mack, but they've basically fully made the switch to Mack. They have great reliability. They have very little downtime with engine codes. In fact, I think they have 6 Mack trucks, and Mark over at Grafton said they've had 1 engine code so far, which, I mean, for us in a snowstorm, a lot of times we go out and check engine light comes on. It's like, well, we don't have the software to diagnose it, so we have to take it over to the county or up to truck country. In the middle of a snowstorm, it's like, well, do you really have to stop? Is it just nothing? Do we keep going? So that's kind of the reason that we're pushing for the Max. They also had a couple of little features, like the split windshield that's heated. Freightliner says they have a heated windshield and heated wipers, and half hour into a snowstorm, the wipers are full of ice and you have the heat on, or the defrost on full blast and the window down, cooking yourself out of the truck. Mack offers a split heated windshield. The guys at Grafton love it. They said it's a huge difference. Clean windshield, which means you can see better. And they also have a very large window in the passenger side door so you can see to the outside and have some visibility at the wing. So the first part is to approve a Sourcewell contract with Mack Trucks, which is a Crete dealer, which is actually right next to Truck Country in Sheboygan. So that was the other nice thing is they do have service if we do need it right there in Sheboygan. And then the second part was the truck build. So this would be the box, the front plow, the wing, the salter, and the liquid application. We've gone with Monroe. That's actually the only plows that we have are Monroe. But the biggest thing that Casper offers is they call it a universal wing, and it tucks in lower and tighter to the truck, which gives you a clear line of sight when the wing is folded up. And I can say that's a huge difference. I had a little incident a few weeks ago plowing, and it had to do with the wing, and it's happened to other people, and it just takes a split second where you're folding that wing down to see, and then you got to fold it back up. And if you don't fold it back up, you end up with a boo-boo. And for the slight price difference, I mean, having that wing clear line of sight out the side is huge. So I would also recommend going with Casper Truck Equipment out of Butler. So the Crete truck price is $205,823, and that's a Sourcewell contract. So you don't have to do any other bidding. They solicit the bidding for that price. And then the truck builder, I would recommend going with Casper for the $210,846.
Thanks, JD.
Yep.
Any questions for JD or comments? I will say I appreciate all of the clarification and background. It's
Yeah.
easy to understand then, to understand why we're making the change. And I know from personal experience with folks in the highway department, when blades are up, the accidents happen in the
Yeah, no, it's a couple of little changes, and I mean for the price difference, I mean as long as we keep these trucks, it's well worth it.
Do we get the cool hood ornament too? Yeah,
Yes, they will have the Mack Bulldog.
right. Any other comments or questions? Phil?
Do we all get a bulldog keychain?
We can put them right up here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve award to Crete Truck for $205,823 and then to Casper Truck for the truck build for $210,846?
I move to approve the chassis bid to Crete Truck for $205,823 for 2 trucks, and the truck builder bid to Casper Truck Equipment for $210,846 for 2 trucks.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Alderman Gasper. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Alderman Sigbert. Any further discussion?
Paint jobs. Is that painted in-house or do they come? Paint job. Are they painted or?
No, so the chassis gets painted by Mack, and then the box is stainless steel, so that will not be painted.
They match our color, obviously.
Yeah, it's Omaha orange. Everything we order is Omaha orange.
All right, Alderman Sigbert?
Is there a trade?
No, so I kind of talked to Tony about this. We don't trade anything in anymore. We sell everything on Wisconsin Surplus because the trade is, I know, yeah, John Crane, I mean, we've had some really good deals too, but John over at Park and Rec got offered $1,200 for a truck he traded in and sold it on Wisconsin Surplus for $10,500. So yeah, we'll never trade anything again.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, and then before we get to project updates, we'll circle back then to item A, Rob?
Okay, so Brian Heinrichs is here with us tonight from Foth. He has been leading the break wall project since 2013, I think, but for quite some time. And so I did want to update the board on the status of the break wall. Maybe if I can use the screen. Yeah. Sure, okay. I'll do my best here. I'm still, all right. Wait a second. Under receiver's address, I'm sorry, it's been a couple of weeks since I've done this. Is it HT? 192. Or just, 19, okay, yeah. There it goes. All right, thanks. All right, super. So, so here's the bad news. We'll just get right to it. This is, I did not take these pictures. These were shared with me by Mr. What's his last name? The young guy who goes around the city and looks for stuff. Mr. Burke. Okay. Anyhow, so he shared with me this photo on a February day. So this is, we did sustain some damage to the gateway again this winter. We have one railing that was sheared off here. So the street department will weld this back on. Our new ramp is right here. So this ramp had a corrugated metal underlayment, I guess, and then a reinforced concrete walkway on top of that. That was uplifted the previous winter, so it was replaced with this steel grating. It was kept in place with clips. Foth is arranging to have it welded in place, and their engineers are telling us that will hold it in place without further damage. They're also, Foth is also, and Brian can speak to this more, but is working with the Army Corps to add revetment stone against the sheet piling that's there to break up the energy of the waves. While we don't think that this will stop every storm, it will certainly decrease again the pounding that the railing is taking in the walkway itself. So when we made the decision to replace the ramp with the graded steel, the old railing was essentially anchored into the concrete ramp. Well, we can't do that with the current configuration. So first, stepping back, so Foth and Terra essentially combined, took ownership of the ramp replacement, and between the two, again, Terra, who performed the gateway construction, and Foth, of course, was the engineer on it, paid in full for the replacement of the ramp. So the city didn't pay a penny of replacing the ramp. The design of the railing, again, was performed on Foth's nickel to design the new railing, which will need to be removed prior to winter each year.
Rob, how far, delineate how far?
Yeah, sorry.
Very
So, and I'm sorry, this isn't the greatest picture, but it's better than nothing, I guess. So the railing will be from here. Yeah, you can see my little arrow, and then up to here on both sides. Okay. And I can, I think I
And this
should
is
be able to-
basically a connection from the one concrete pad area to the walkway, right? And it's a connection, yeah.
Yes, right. And let's see if I have let's see if I have. No, that's that. Is this it? No, that's just the quote. I'm sorry, I don't have prepared I can look around for it while Brian's talking, but in any case, so it'll be on either side.
Yep.
They received bids from Midwest Steel and Midwest Stairs and Iron, and from Badger Railing. So the lower bid was Midwest Stairs and Iron, $13,449, and so we are recommending that the city purchase the railing to go in. So I know there's been some questions about that, but I guess we feel that Foth is taking ownership of the failure, but they are asking that the city participate in the cost of replacing the railing, since they took care of the cost of replacing the ramp itself. And then up on the screen, oh, no longer up on the screen. So I asked Brian. So I didn't have a ton of involvement with the project in the early years. That was essentially Mayor Malata and Mark Grams were primarily involved with working with Foth on the projects. I came in a little later. Essentially, I came in about the time we started constructing the gateway and worked with the Terra and assisted with inspection on that. And of course, we're constructing sections A through C, that's a separate project entirely from this gateway project and the railing that we're talking about. But I did ask Brian to have his assistant Gwen essentially add up the kind of bring us back on where we've gotten to that point. And I see the first grant that we were awarded down here is in 2014. And Brian can certainly speak more to this, but here's the award amount over in this column K. And then once you get down to the bottom here, the sum of the grants that through, Foth's work that we've gotten, again, adding up this column. So I don't know if there's any in here that we haven't gotten. I understand the award amount. These are all been applied towards so it's it's $4.4 million. So I think it's been by all measures, a success.
What was the match amount, Rob, total?
The grant total is $4.4 million right down
And
here.
our match amount, the cities?
Our match amount, oh, sorry.
Yeah, just seeing what our contract.
Yeah, no, the match amount is $5 million, but I think it's a little misleading, because I don't think that's not $5 million that the city has put towards it. So some of these grants have matched each other, essentially. And that, oh, Brian, I'm sorry. If you press there's a little arrow that tells you where to press, and then you'll have the microphone.
Yeah, in most cases, we match federal against state grants. So that's a good point. Your out of pocket is a column that we should have added to that. If I remember right, your out of pocket, even with A through C, is just about $1 million for the $4 million award. So, but I can get that number to Rob tomorrow. We just need that'll take a little bit of forensic work to pull out the matches against each other.
And it's not critical to cover this, but I do want to say, so this one right here, we're going to be completing this summer. So this is the well, by June 30th, which I guess is coming up, this connection between the bike trail and the gateway itself. So that's, ANZE is actually installing that sidewalk. So that's going to provide our local share. And then between the trail and Lake Street, that cost will be provided by this DNR grant. And then we have 550,000 coming. And Brian, you might have to help me out a little bit with this, but it's this one right here for sections A, B, C repair. This is, so the grant request was 6 million, I guess, because we have 550,000 coming, right? For A through C, and we were hoping for a 750,000 boating infrastructure grant. I think it was a big grant, right? And that was, I know there's some great disappointment when we weren't awarded that grant. And so, I mean, this is the grants we've gotten. I know FOTH has chased a number that we weren't able to get, that being probably the most notable.
Yeah, you had gotten a boating infrastructure grant that you already had that you were using for one other site.
Yeah,
So,
right here, yeah.
yeah,
Cap
and then
D
they,
and D1.
yeah, some of that money was able to be transferred. You didn't use all of it, but the federal government was not excited about giving another grant that quickly to the city. So we tried.
Right, and just some of the acronyms, so RBF, that's the Recreational Boating Fund, right? HAP grant, Harbor Assistance Program. FFLM is Fund for Lake Michigan. BIG is a boating infrastructure grant. CMP is Coastal Management Program. Stewardship is a DNR program that covers mostly, well, kind of recreational trails, I would say.
And water access.
And then here's one. Here's a non-point grant that we were awarded. This was for, well, this is one of our less successful projects, but Mother Nature had a lot to do with it. Of course, was creation of kind of a wetland stormwater detention area that's been swallowed up by the rising lake levels. But yeah, so. Across the board, a lot of different grants that FOTH has been able to secure.
So I'm sure your questions are about the ramp and in sitting in your shoes, I would say we should have designed it for the water levels that are there. In the past, we were asked to design to a budget, and we designed at the time, it was not Rob, at the time, those that were leading the effort felt that designing to a 30-year storm was going to be adequate so we could meet the budget that we were looking at. Hindsight, that was a bad move. So we could put back in the railing that was there. Now we fixed the ramp issue. I mean, that is not going to, the ramp that we put in, and to explain why, we put the clips in to do exactly what they did, except we thought it was going to be a 100-year storm that would pop those clips off, not the storms that we're getting now with the higher lake levels. So we're going to weld them on, and they will, the energy, because they are a mesh, will allow the water to go through them, and that will be fine. But if we put the railing back on that was originally designed, it would fail. It would fail. So what we proposed was to have a removable railing, which around the Great Lakes, especially I'm seeing this in Michigan a lot at the ports and Lake Huron, the railings have gotten sheared off and they're going to the removable post and cable railings that you may have seen at other ports, but you've also probably seen like at restaurants and things. It's a post and stainless steel cable. They can be easily removed. It takes, 2 city staff an hour or less to put them back in. So the right thing to do with the ramp was for us to replace it. And so we spent $70,000, a little over $70,000 doing that. We could not in all conscience put that railing back up because it would have failed and you would have came back, we would have disappointed you once again. So what we did was we came up with a solution that that can be removed, and we feel that we did the ramp, and we're hoping that the railing is something that you can own. And hopefully, I mean, nobody wants the lake levels to go down unless you've got unless you've got a beachfront property. But water levels will go down again, and you probably won't have to remove them. You can probably leave them in the winter. But right now, with these lake levels, it's just such that the railings around the Great Lakes are getting beat to heck. And a lot of communities are just taking them off altogether. But this solution would allow you to have the railings in the summer. So that's kind of where we're at. I wanted to let you know, we stood up and we took care of the ramp in its entirety. But the railing, the other option was we just put the old one back on. That wouldn't have been good for anybody. So I welcome any questions.
And so the railing was designed to what it was spec'd out to, is what you're saying, right? So what it was originally designed or spec'd out to was a 30-year storm event?
Yeah.
And that's what it was designed to as requested is.
Yeah. So normally we would design it to either at least a 50 or a 70-year storm event. Mm-hmm. Those budget numbers came in way too high to build the gateway. So the compromise was to build it to a 30-year storm event, yep. And the water was 3 feet lower at that time too.
Yep.
So hindsight, I should have stood up and said no. I should have said, you either build it, we either design it to a 70-year storm event, to the highest datum of the lake, and I didn't do that. So I'm just being honest.
And then what kind of storm event took it out? Do we know the
That's
gravity
probably
of that?
about a 40-year storm event.
Okay.
And then, but what's complicated is the higher lake levels are bringing the ice.
Can't hear you when you move away from the microphone.
I'm sorry. What's complicating is the higher lake levels are also bringing not just water. We can handle water, but it's the ice that is really causing the issues. So what I did do then, though, when Rob and I talked, I thought there are two ways to address some of this energy, the lake energy, including the lake energy, the water with the ice, and that would be one would be to put do you have that other figure that Tim put together?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You have the other figure that Tim did that showed the.
I'll tell you when I do.
Okay, so I reached out to the Corps, and I said I think that what we need are some groins, which would be short breakwaters that stick out from the existing breakwater to knock down that energy. We took a look at that, and the design of the groin that we proposed would have required a lot of permitting because we would have had to go quite a ways out into the lake. And what the Corps had said is right now they have basically a barge load of stone, a little bit more than a barge load of stone, sitting in Kewaunee. And they realize all of the work that the city has been doing on their breakwater all of these years. And so I asked them, I said, if we provide you with the design, would you be willing to bring in stone for either a groin or some additional, basically bringing the stone further out like it is on other parts of the breakwater? Our coastal engineer has been working on this, ran the calculations a few different ways. The one way was to put a pretty long groin out, almost 60 feet. I didn't like that very much. And also it would be a nightmare to permit. The other option is just to add some large stone to the gateway section of the breakwater that would knock down that energy and protect the assets that are behind it. So that's what we're proposing to the Corps right now. And they had said that if we can get this all together, which we've got about a month now, that would be the first barge that would leave Kewanee. They would bring it here and they'd set it at no cost to the city. And that's about a $500,000 if we were to go out in the market to do that. So that's the other part that I'm when the lake drops, everybody's going to ask, why the heck's all that stone out there? But right now, that's the only way that we can really protect those assets, is either to put a groin in, which would be a night. I could not get that permitted until next year if I started right now, or to add the extra stone. I think that's the viable option. So Rob and I have been talking about that, and after this meeting, my plan is to go back to the Army Corps and say, we have a tentative approval from the city, let's go ahead and do it.
And then the removable railings, what are those designed to then?
They'll be designed to a 70-year storm without ice.
Okay.
They'll be designed to what?
A 70-year storm without ice.
Without ice on Lake Michigan. Okay.
If I If I'm going to design a railing that's going to hold up to a 70-year storm with carrying 4,000-pound chunks of ice, I'm going to have to put in sheet pile. You can imagine having a car or a pickup truck hitting that railing at 30 miles an hour. That's the same thing that we've got with a slab of ice hitting it. So
These are solid railings, tubes or thick or how? What are
they're posts with stainless steel cable running
cables?
across them.
But they're
So
also,
they're easy to remove.
and they'd be removed when the ice is out there is what it almost sounds like that's a recommendation.
It's how long?
Risk our rescue personnel having to save someone, in addition.
And not that it matters throughout the Great Lakes, that's what's happening. Whether it's Frankfort, Michigan, Ludington, they're having to close them. It's just not safe.
Because of the high levels and the
High
way.
levels, and now you've constantly got ice cover on those things too. It's a skating rink.
So at lower levels, you still had ice, but the ice is way down
Right.
lower.
I'm talking about the ice that's actually building
Right.
up on the breakwater walkway.
Because of the high level. It
Yeah.
gets-
So it's just been exacerbated.
And so here's the submerged breakwater concept that Brian was talking about. So I think what he's saying is that, this is one concept that's being considered to dissipate the energy. Again, it would be submerged unless the water level were behind or were lower than elevation 579. And I'm sorry, they're at like 583 or 585 right now.
85, I believe.
585. But instead of this, which would take permitting and possibly loss of the armor stone that's available, we're looking at building it essentially along the sheet piling.
Yep.
Yeah,
So just going parallel to it, right?
right.
Parallel
Yeah,
to
to
it.
break up that energy.
And what would the concerns be about that if we went that? Are there any other than it being exposed when the water level goes down, or it's not a hazard to boating, right, that close?
No, I mean,
It seems like free stone would be good to protect the wall regardless, right?
Right. Yeah. And let me bring that back up.
not get all of it done this season. We might not get all of the stone done this season, but the goal would be to get as much of the stone. I mean, so we might have to go back to the Corps next year or this fall when they've got some extra stone to come back. But the load that they've got now, we would do as much as we could, starting near the ramp and moving back.
In case anyone's forgotten, this is what it used to.
What about the Corps of Engineering? Are they going to just say, yeah, dump all these rocks there? Or do we have to get a
I'm sorry?
permit? the engineering corps, are they going to say, yeah, go ahead, just dump all that stuff there?
They'll be dumping.
Yeah,
they will-
they'll be the one
They'll
dumping
be
it.
placing it there.
Okay.
And they're also scheduled to improve the south break wall this summer.
And that would be the second opportunity to get some stone if this first load isn't enough.
Okay, since, like right now, the break wall is in theory closed, but it really isn't stopping anybody who is determined to go out there. Is there a way we can put some better gate possibly at the bottom of the ramp that could both manage to effectively close the break wall and not be destroyed by the lake?
You mean the gate? Not be,
Yes. Would we be able to put a gate that would be able to be easily closed? Not that we'd have to go out there and erect a couple barricades quick because they don't stop anybody, but also something that would hold up to the lake trying to scour it off.
yeah. If,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, there are some.
We need something that truly.
That's where we're pulling the that's where we're
people not
pulling
to
the
go.
railing
Right.
out. So I don't know.
Like something there that
Or at the
somebody
top
from
of
the
it.
city or
Yeah.
a police officer can just go down, unlock and close it and lock it.
Here's the thing, you don't own the breakwater. But you don't, well, I'm just
You own
addressing,
this part of the breakwater.
addressing this. You don't own the breakwater, the Corps does. So the Corps will let you put any gate up, as long as they have a key, because they have to have access to the navigation light. So you can put any barrier there that you want. You know darn well people are going to find a way around it, but you can put any barrier there you want. At the end of the day, the liability of someone, and this is not where that's not where we want to be, but the liability exists with the Corps, not with the city. But you want to protect your citizens, you want to protect your rescue personnel to the greatest degree possible. I would strongly suggest that you take whatever measures possible to not allow access to that breakwater until lake levels drop.
In the winter, right, or all
Yeah,
year?
in the winter. No, in the summer, it's going to be, it would be tough.
Well, I'm getting more comfortable with this item as we learn more about it, but I'm interested to see the longtime residents here about the policy change of leaving it closed in the winter. How you guys feel about that? That's a real good idea if you're in favor. Yeah, Alderman Sigler.
Try to talk for a second. If you'll recall a number, maybe Chris knows when this was, when people wanted to bury a bunch of automobiles in Lake Michigan. I mean, fortunately that went away, okay? But they were talking about building a stair out of concrete parallel to the breakwater down to the bottom of Lake Michigan. So people could walk in and drown instead of fall in and drown, okay? And I oppose that, okay? I also think we have to talk a little bit about this removable railing concept. Why don't we design a railing that'll take the battle? I mean, I realize that is not necessarily your fault, Brian, okay? I want you to understand that, okay? But for me, when we remove that railing and we have some young people, I won't call them teenagers, I'll just call them people that aren't fully matured, climb out there and slip on the ice and go through where the railing was and drown, okay? Seems to me that we should keep something up there, even if we close the breakwater. So maybe we could keep a railing up there that is, like you said, is not so it gets damaged. It's not the cutesy thing we have up there now. It would be something similar to what we used to have, which was just a post and
Wire, right?
airline
Well,
cable or
What's
whatever.
the cable?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit concerned about putting a gate on the breakwater that has to be locked and unlocked. I like the barricades. The barricades say, go away.
can do that.
like we're doing now, Rob.
Yes.
People climb around that, I think it's their own problem, okay? But the idea of having a gate that we're gonna lock and the car has to have a key and who's gonna open, unlock, and what's the date that we're gonna do that? Is it gonna be before ice, after ice? I think that gets a little bit confusing.
What the city chooses to do for security is totally up to you. And you're right. As I said, the liability exists with the federal government, and the federal government has enough case law to fill up to the ceiling here that they have no liability. It's really more your rescue personnel that you're trying to keep them out of harm's way.
Yeah, right now, our street department is erected a gate here and a gate here. They work well this year because there's fence, of course, protecting the construction site here. JD and I talked a little bit before this meeting. I guess we're gonna, in the future, we need to keep this walkway open year round, I think. And then ideally close it here, but I mean, it could be somewhere else if we're gonna close it at all. I will take whatever direction I'm given. Regarding the railing, there's always the argument to be made, in my mind anyway. Once you get to this point, you're out of railing, right? So, I mean, at some point, there's no
Right, it's no
railing,
different.
whether it's on the ramp. You'd be a lot safer falling off of this ramp than you would off of the, this structure here. Because this is only like it's less than a 30-inch drop, which is the OSHA trigger for a railing requirement on a typical walkway. This is a breakwater structure, so I'm not sure that those rules necessarily apply.
They're not ADA
And
compliant.
when the new stone is put down there, right, it should be less deep at that area?
Well, you'd be stepping off into stone, which, again, ideally, you don't want people in, but.
Right, but if you fell,
So,
and if this removable railing, if you didn't remove it, it would probably not survive ice, correct, right?
with the high lake levels, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that anything I design short of sheet pile is going to survive 4,000-pound chunks of ice hitting it at 30 miles an hour.
And then just, Rob, what's the difference between what we had there before? This was just nicer and it's harder to keep up. We just had basically cables before and that survived, which isn't, what we had in the past years ago, those other
Well,
pictures,
years ago, it was just, it was angle iron and steel cable.
and that survived
Prior to the project, that's what you're
prior to
saying,
the
right?
project.
Actually, in that area, it was a wall of sheet piling.
Yes. Well, you're,
Came up higher than the.
Yeah, the sheet piling would have been over your head if you walked next to it.
What's this gonna do to the effect of the condos in there? Anything? I mean, not that we really care too much, but we still have to protect our interest on that, right?
In what way, Phil?
Is it gonna affect the condos at all that are going in there? The old Newport Shores place.
no.
Far enough away off the project site, right?
This part of the parking lot's his too, right?
Yep.
I mean, how
the
much are
walk-
we gonna encroach?
The walkway is owned by the city. This walkway is owned by the city, and I
Okay.
would recommend we continue to keep this part open year round.
I would agree.
So the other question I have, we spent $4.5 million at some point. Somebody spent $4.5 million, grant or whatever. And we couldn't get it right with that amount?
Well,
I'm talking out loud, I guess, or thinking out loud.
I think the majority or funding went into restoring this walkway here. This is section D and D1, and then of course, as we know, this is over $1 million going into this walkway out to and breakwater protection out to the lighthouse, and then several $1 million was also spent in armor stone along the entire face of all the sections. That work was all done by the Army Corps.
And that's part of the match. So when you saw that big match number.
It's still
we were
money
able to
spent.
look-
You know,
We were able
doesn't
to.
matter whose it is, it's still money spent.
Absolutely.
And you know,
Build
I'll
what
say-
the
I'll say it-
lighthouse has got out there. Build a little lighthouse in there. That stayed for how many years out there now?
well, you know,
And that's taken more brunt than anything.
well, I think we saw the lighthouse in Manitowoc fall into the lake. I mean, there's nothing an engineer can do to stop Mother Nature if her will is to take something.
It just seems strange that we're building everything for 1,000-year floods. And this one ended up coming on a, 12-and-a-half-year whim or whatever we have on this one.
No, it was a pretty significant storm bigger than that. However, we came in with the design that was sustainable and it was too expensive. We designed to a budget that was provided to us.
Well, ballpark for us what it would cost to have a railing that you didn't remove that would survive a 70-year storm event. I mean, is
Two
it
things would have to happen.
exponentially
Either
more?
we'd put a bunch of rock out in front of it,
Yeah.
a lot, even more than we're proposing now,
Right.
or I'd have sheet pile there like we just talked about. That's what historically was
So the
there.
aesthetic part goes away. It's not the same. It's
Yeah.
totally
And the
different. Totally
aesthetics
different
were-
thing. Yeah.
The aesthetics were incredibly important to the city at the time.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, and that's what we were trying to do, was to beautify that area, make it better. I mean, it's truly remarkable the amount of money that's been spent on that breakwater and that we've executed and gotten from grants. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah, Alderman Sigwart.
I came in here, Brian, diametrically opposed to spending the $13,000 for the darn railing. Okay, just so you know, I've learned a lot tonight. I hope I'm older, and I am older, but I hope I'm wiser, okay? Why don't we do this? Why don't we see if the Corps can put the rock down and then purchase the railing? Or, even at that point, put the old railing back up like it was. I mean, if we have enough stone, maybe we can protect it enough. It seems to me that go ahead and authorize the purchase of a temporary railing, call it what you want. Aesthetics aside, we've lost it, okay? If we get the stone, that'll help us.
One of the issues is with the redesign of the ramp, we're at greater risk of trying to weld that old railing back on because we don't have the other one, we had a concrete superstructure. Now we have a metal frame superstructure. If we were to put the old railing back on, which is an option, it would not only wreck the railing, it would wreck the ramp again.
But didn't we put some armor stone inside?
Your microphone.
Didn't we put some armor stone inside?
Yep.
We keep that ramp from heaving?
We did. I've got to take a closer look.
But that isn't going to protect the railing.
I understand, but it seemed to me it should have protected the ramp. But you're saying now with the ramp being welded in place,
It's going to
it'll be
stay.
good. Okay.
Yeah, but I agree with Brian. I think, the existing railing is, it's meant to be anchored into, sorry. The existing railing is meant to be anchored into the concrete. There's nothing to anchor it into. And even if we do somehow anchor it into the walkway itself, I just think it's going to, as Brian said, destroy the walkway. This is going to be simple, a post structure that's attached to the I-beams that will pop out every fall. I agree that this is, I don't think it's going to look bad, but it's utilitarian. It'll serve the need to provide a railing, and I agree that I think it would be risky to try and leave anything out there over winter.
And this is just for discussion's sake, again, a question. if the railing is removed every winter, do we need the stone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really the stone is really, this is the part that takes the beating
Yeah.
right now. And we want to protect this.
We're protecting more than just we're protecting that whole
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
And I
other
get
railing,
that. That
the-
makes sense to
The
me.
black railing that's there's about 50 feet of it there too. So, you know, our goal at Foth is, like I said, hindsight, I would have said no. I would have said, no, I'm not going to build it this way. I'm not going to build to a budget. And so at this point, I'm not going to go down that path again. We're going to build this thing we're going to protect it to the best degree possible. And there is going to have to be some, I am highly recommending some adaptive management, which means you remove the railing.
And so just to keep discussion here, and even if we didn't have a removable railing, it sounds like we would still want to close the breakwater to pedestrian traffic, right? Even if we had a railing that stayed there, the city is kind of looking at closing that anyways for safety
Yeah,
reasons, right?
that's right.
So
That's the-
regardless of whether we have a removable railing, it sounds like we're looking to make that policy.
As long as the lake levels are at the level they at, that's the message that I'm hearing from the alderman.
And that makes sense to me too. Okay. Any other questions here for Brian? Alderman
What are-
Tierney?
Just, if I
What
could
are
ask
other
one.
communities? Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Brian, the one thing, when you put if the armor stone is put there, is there any possibility, or you've, I don't know, done computer models on it, is it gonna possibly cause any wave action in other areas? I mean, it moves off that, it goes to somewhere else and damages, say, the water filtration plant or anything like that, or the. Mike, microphone.
What it's going to do is there will not be a negative outcome from it.
Okay.
What you have is in certain wind directions, you have what I call it a racing wave that runs down that breakwater. And as it gets down, it increases in energy and it increases in height.
I've seen them.
The stone or that groin would knock that down and protect the infrastructure. I mean, I'll tell you a quick story. In New Buffalo, many years ago, I was there with my boat and I had my dinghy and I was going along. It was one of those winds. I was going along the breakwater, thinking I knew what I was doing. And as I got closer to shore, that wave grabbed the dinghy and took my inflatable and flipped it back over first with the motor still running. So that racing wave is a very dangerous situation that not only does it have a danger to the infrastructure, it's also a danger to people.
That's a good question, though, Alderman Tierney, about the displacement there of the waves, because we have obviously an erosion problem there on that
Yeah.
bluff.
No, I don't see that. You know, what we don't know for sure is what's going to happen with the weeds. We think that they'll get caught up on the rocks. Whether it gets caught up on the rocks in the breakwater, or it gets caught on the rocks in front of your water filtration plant, they're still going to be there. It's probably better that it gets caught on the rocks. They'll dry out and dissipate faster than they will there. That's just another issue that we took a look at when you asked if we modeled it. Yes, we did model it when we came up with the two options. One of the things just to keep in mind, the Corps can do whatever they want on their footprint. And once we get outside that footprint, which that groin would be, then I have to get Corps and DNR permits. If the Corps can place it within their footprint, they can do whatever they want without any permits whenever they want. So.
What are some of the other communities have they done for winter? Sheboygan, Milwaukee, Manitowoc.
I can speak that we've lost some railing in Two Rivers. Manitowoc lost their lighthouse entirely. Most communities don't have railings. They just don't. Even Racine and Kenosha don't have railings. So
Do they shut
Michigan-
down the breakwater then in the summer and winter?
Say that, I'm sorry?
Do they shut down the breakwater at all?
They are now. Frankfurt's shutting theirs down, Ludington's shutting theirs down. And those communities have 0 railings anywhere on the core-owned structure. Michigan's case law was a little bit different than Wisconsin's in that if a railing was put on and the Corps approved it but did not install it, the act of putting the railing on the entity putting the railing on assumed some responsibility at that point. So most communities opted to put 0 railings on because they did not want any liability. Two Rivers was the example. Two Rivers has a great railing on theirs. The Corps approved it, the Corps actually installed it, and that's getting the heck beat out of it right now. So,
Okay, yeah, John.
I won't say one more question, Pat, because Pat will correct me. I look at the bottom of the bid from Midwest Railings and it expired January 9th. How about if it's January 9th of 2022, if they'll extend it, and we don't do it until we need it? I mean, right now, we're not going to put it out there. Are we, Rob? No, we're not going to put it out till spring.
Well, but by the, yeah, so I did talk to the
This one's
estimator.
spring. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I did talk to the estimator and he said he would extend I just said through March 20th, would extend the quote, and he said yes. If I didn't ask him, but I would imagine that if we approve this tonight and gave them a purchase order, that it wouldn't be fabricated for, I don't know, maybe up to 4 weeks.
When might you think we would put it out?
ICE is the issue. So I think after, like, I would feel comfortable putting it out right now. I talked to JD about that, but I think the issue is like Brian said, flying chunks of ice, and I think
So
we're done
we
with
would,
flying
let's
chunks.
say we put the railing out on the 20th of March. And say it won't be ready, but let's say it would be, okay? That mean we'd open the breakwater at the same time?
It could, I don't know if, we do March 1st, I'm sorry, well, you could do March 1st or March 15th or April 1st, I guess. I consult with our harbor master. I'm far from an expert on the,
yeah, we've got to get the we've got to get the ramp welded back together, and I'm going to have Michaels do that when they come back, which is very soon too. I mean, we're talking about the same time frame. We're, a couple weeks one way or the other.
Still no guarantee, Brian, that we'd get the stone from the Corps.
I have to, with your approval now, advance that, go back to the Corps and say, this is what we want to do. We will give them our design, and then we would, I mean, what they were saying is we want to get this out here first thing, the first barge that leaves Kewanee. We want to do this because that stone that's sitting there now does not have a home. And this can be the home. So with your approval, I will advance that.
And that design work will be incurred by
Us.
Fourth Engineering? Okay, I think that,
yeah, there's no cost to the city.
And this would still have to go to council. Tony, could it go to council for,
If it doesn't
Next
cost
meeting?
you anything, does it have to go? I'm just asking.
I'm just saying when I'm looking here, it says it's got to go to council, so I'm,
Well, there's two things. The armor stone that Brian's talking about, unless there's objections, I would direct him to obtain and work with the Army Corps to add the revetment stone to the breakwater. And then the railing itself, I'll let Tony speak to it, but we've performed other maintenance on the gateway in the past, and while this isn't a budgeted item, my recommendation is to take it out of the contingency for sections A through C, since we have I think about $40,000 left in that, or it could come out of another contingency fund, but that I'd work with Tony on finding how we would pay for the $13,000 railing, which I guess, given the size and scope of the breakwater, is not enormous.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, Alderman Gasper?
One that I haven't seen anyone ask about yet is, do we have a place to store this railing in winter where it won't get damaged?
Why is everybody looking at me?
Or thrown away for recycling?
Yeah, I hope it's not getting put next to a pile of salt.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could find room in our cold storage building.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's cable, it's not like it's a solid structure. That's, yeah. So, yeah, I'm sure we can find room for it.
Well, I'm pretty comfortable here with what I've heard in the plan, put forward by staff and Fourth Engineering, and I thank you for coming in and, acknowledging, what happened in the past and explaining that for us. Some of that, for me, of course, some of that's been new to learn. So, I feel comfortable voting for this and today. Do we have any other questions, or otherwise I'll entertain a motion to approve? Do we have a motion to approve the removable railing for $13,449?
I'll move to approve the removable railing for $13,049, whatever it is.
So we have a motion by Alderman Tierney. Do we have a second? I will second that motion.
Does that motion include directing Fourth to go forward with arranging with the Corps of Engineers to place the revetment stone? Or is that going to be a separate motion?
Or is that handled by staff?
Or is that handled by staff? I don't know.
I go either. I would take it as a consensus. It's not. I didn't place it on the agenda, so technically, I don't know if it's something we could vote on anyway. But
Yeah,
my
I'm comfortable with
consensus,
staff
it's a
directing.
non-expenditure, and it's. I would consider it maintenance.
Yeah. Okay.
If it's a consensus of the board to direct Fourth to work with the Corps to place a revetment stone, I would.
So this is
ahead and
what
do
we're
that.
saying is we're going to put the old railing back up,
No,
No.
no, we're purchasing the railing.
purchasing a new railing.
Correct.
Right,
That might not work.
that's true.
That is not guaranteed in a 70-year storm with ice. So that's why we
We're not leaving-
remove it seasonally in the winter, is the intention.
I guess, Phil, I personally don't believe you can guarantee anything with that lake out there.
Yeah. I mean, it seems
It
to me.
may not work, you're right, it may not.
Yeah.
Right,
But I think it's better than nothing.
And as Brian, right?
You don't roll this.
That's your name, correct, Brian? Yeah, and as Brian has said, I mean, the only thing short of that, removing it is going with, sheet wall, right? The conditions out there have changed in the last few years. I think this is a viable option, or one of the few options we have.
This is all galvanized steel.
It wasn't that, really, you think about it, when this was going on, everybody was complaining that the lake was too low. When we first
right.
started doing this, it was,
do we have any other options other than?
Office.
I think the problem is that the sheet piling should never have been totally removed in there, and now that it's gone, we're kind of stuck having to do something.
Sheet pile's still
And
there.
it seems like we only have bad solutions, but this might be the best bad solution that we have today.
I mean, you do have one other option, no railing. You have no obligation to put a railing up. This was something that the city wanted to do for the citizens that have access to the seawall. Again, most breakwaters on the Great Lakes have 0 railings.
And the railing is on the ramp, correct?
Right.
Yeah. And how wide is the ramp?
Oh, boy.
Oh.
5 feet?
No, it's more than 5 feet.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sorry.
reasonably narrow, right?
Yeah,
And navigation structures are exempt from ADA, so we don't have to have it for that reason.
yep.
Yeah, I think with that incline and there being a ramp, right, it's a change of elevation. I mean, it seems appropriate to have a railing.
The problem is without one, I know, knowing my constituents, I know I will be fielding calls about once a week from somebody upset that we don't have a railing there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
But the gentleman
7 of
asked
those
if there was
weeks,
an
they
option.
won't be asking questions, or 7 of those months, they won't be asking that question, because they can't go out there anyways. You know, because it's gonna be winter and we shut it down.
All right, we have a motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so we have 4 ayes, 1 nay. Motion carries.
Okay, I'll be working with Rob, with the Corps, and I'll probably be scheduling a virtual meeting and then a meeting at Kiwani for us to take a look at the stone, do a calculation of how much we can cover, how much we can actually cover this year. Hopefully, it's all of it. So that'll be the next steps.
And hopefully the cost benefit is that saves us wear and tear on the rest of the, break wall for years to come, over and above 13,000. So, thanks, Brian.
All right, thanks.
Okay, so I think we'll skip back now down to item 7A, which are project updates. So we have sewer lining and city parking lot. Rob?
Okay, I hope this is the last time I have to report on it, but, lining is scheduled to occur. Wait, next? Now I'm losing track of weeks. Is it this week or next week? Yeah, okay, next week. Sorry, I'm losing track of weeks here. It's scheduled the lining's scheduled to go in next week. And that is the final step on, what has been a long road to get to this point, and apologize for the problems that we've had. Hopefully I'll have more information when it's all complete, but, that's the status. So hopefully one more week and we'll be off that project. I said.
So they got a hold, they rebuilt the end where they're,
Yeah, where the
collapse?
collapse occurred, they installed essentially they installed a smaller pipe in there and then grouted around it to hold the essentially the surrounding earth in place, so that it wouldn't collapse further into the pipe. So it's essentially a host pipe. It's not the ideal solution. It only serves 2 customers. I wound up being the best solution to an unfortunate situation that occurred with the pipe collapsing underneath the roof line of the restrooms.
what size pipe did it go to from?
It goes from an 8-inch pipe to a 6-inch pipe. So again, it's almost a glorified lateral that we're picking up. The pipe thickness itself is about 3/8 inch, and so that's going to be essentially the lip in the pipe, which isn't a whole lot different than an offset joint, which we have in our sewers and in places. So again, not ideal, but something we'll live with under the circumstances. And in the end, we're getting rid of a lot of inflow from the lake. The other project updates, I just left it, I had already given the 21 street and sidewalk improvement updates in the new business. Yeah, go
Before
ahead.
we get off of that, Rob,
Sure.
you remember when we talked about how expensive this was?
Yes.
I'm beginning to understand that maybe it wasn't all that expensive in the long run, but are they indicating any need for a change order due to
For
the,
the Duluth, for this lining project. I asked him that. he hinted that they might be coming back for an additional $10,000 to $15,000, but I've not heard anything from them. Obviously, we would have to discuss why we have the extra 10 to 15.
We haven't started the project yet effectively.
Right.
We haven't-
Well,
We've lined the manholes,
yes, right.
but we
yes.
haven't lined any pipe yet.
No, nor have we grouted any pipe. So,
Is that right?
yeah, right. I have yet to fully determine why. I'll have to see the camera. He's telling me that I have not seen the televising. He's telling me now that they can line it with the water coming in because it's less water coming in. God help us if there's more coming in the day they want to line the pipe. I don't know.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah,
So effectively, number of weeks or months that we've been working on this, I don't even know how long it is, Rob. It's weeks, but
month. Well, over a month. Certainly well over a month. They started,
haven't-
I think, in mid-January and have been on it since then.
so what they've accomplished are 2 manholes that have been lined.
That went well.
Okay, and they haven't grouted any joints. So then first thing they're going to
My
do is
knowledge,
grout.
no. Yeah.
Okay, I see a few bucks coming here.
Believe me, there'll be, before any of it's paid, there'll be a full accounting of what is going on down there. I honestly, I don't care how they get it done, as long as they get it done. They have more expertise in it than I do, so that's part of the deal, but yeah, and of course, the finished product gets televised and that'll be reviewed.
Rob, how often do you go down there and check some of these jobs?
Well, there's nothing for me to check down there because it's all underground. So I just rely on the televising reports after they're done. So, but I am in communication with the people who are working on the job. We have Gerard and Casey stop in and make sure they know they're being watched. All right, and then, the items B and C, the street and sidewalk improvement projects, I just left that on the agenda, so that'll be a recurring project update. I don't have the street improvement schedule yet from them. I anticipate them starting in April, but I've asked for that schedule and have not yet gotten it. Sidewalk is really the same thing. I don't know if we'll see them until July at the earliest, based on what they're telling me. I don't have it in here, but the Hales Trail sidewalk, that's anticipated to start the week after Easter. But that's not firmed up yet either. Lake Street trash rack, I let the council know at the last meeting that that's been installed and that project's complete, so that head wall is protected from debris coming down Valley Creek. And then I'm working currently with Bremer on the Lake Street design. This is the 2 areas, one associated with the Newport Shores development, and then the northern section, which is the Stantec recommendation to keep stormwater from affecting the water filtration plant. So we're working through both of those designs, and our intent is to have something for the April meeting for the board to review. So, but just the discussions we have, just kind of a preview. The northern section on Lake Street, where we're looking at the stormwater, being advised that it looks more like a speed bump than than perhaps we had in mind. So we're gonna have to give that solution a close look before we move forward with that. So it's about a 4.5% to 5% incline and decline on a street that's otherwise about 1%. So I can tell Bremer didn't like the way it was going. So, but I'll have more. I'll have options for the board at our next meeting.
Okay,
There's our trash.
sounds good.
There's our trash rack. Yeah.
We needed that, and it's there. That's great.
Hopefully, hopefully we don't have to test it anytime soon.
Looks nice.
Good. Okay.
Butte Clark.
Any other project updates, Rob? We're good? We're good? All right. Any forthcoming events?
Yeah, don't we have a mayoral
Oh, yes. We have a mayoral
boxing
candidate
match or
right
something
here.
coming up?
Tomorrow night, correct? What time is that again, Dan? 7 o'clock tomorrow. And the live stream is through city website. Okay. Good luck to you. All right.
What time?
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Moved by
Second.
Alderman Tierney, second. Second by Phil. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.